You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. I'm glad you could join me here today on part one of our Cabral HouseCalls. Each and every weekend, love going over the questions that have come in over the past couple of months. We go through a first-come, first-served basis, and as always, we go through about 5 to 10 questions per show, depending on the complexity of the question, whether we've already answered it on previous shows, and how much of a rant that I go on. So always a lot of fun going through these questions. I never know what they are ahead of time, but I certainly do love seeing what our community is talking about. So if you've never listened before, I do this every single weekend. We've been doing it now for 3.5 years or so. And we've answered, I don't even know how many questions. I want my team to look into that, but it's probably 3,000, 4,000 or so questions. I have no idea. We will find that out. But we had our first snafu last week in terms of a mix-up in questions. Well, we always do our best to right a wrong. And so I just want to let you know, there was a question of whether it was a Justin or Elizabeth that asked the question because it was a duplicate question. So my team looked into it, and it turns out the person was not Justin, it was Elizabeth that asked the question. So our first question, because again, we always try to right our wrongs here, our first question will be from Justin this week. So I'm happy that we're able to figure that out and make sure that everyone gets their question answered. And the reason why I'm happy about this is because this question's going back to July 13th. So all questions are answered in the order they are received. Looks like we are about 7 weeks behind or 8 weeks behind. And this question is from Justin. So Justin will lead us off. He was the one that got mixed up last Saturday's show. So we are happy to answer that today. All right, let's go over it. This is a question for the podcast, or feel free to email me back. So I have a friend with an 11-year-old boy. He's been struggling with Encopresis since he first started potty training. His mother has taken him to many doctors and specialists, and yet no one's really helped him. My thought is that it's bacterial overgrowth and poor diet, but what are your suggestions on this? I would love to help this kid and see him gain more self-confidence as he gets closer to junior high school. Okay, well, happy to go over my answer for this question, and I don't know the exact pronunciation. I'm sure someone can obviously just look up how it's pronounced. But I believe it's Enco, E-N-C-O, Presis, and that's P-R-E-S-I-S. But it's essentially not being able to control your bowel movements and urine as well. So stool, urine, past normal potty training age, okay? Or toilet training age. And I have lots of nieces and nephews all around that age as well. But here's the thing. I've talked about this before. And so what I look at it as like a multi-pronged approach. I mean, that's how we look at everything as an integrative health practitioner. So the first thing I want to know is there any trauma? Is there any behavioral-based issues? Anything wrong from a psychological level of why this might be happening? And I just want to look at that first. And, it's obviously, I want to know an honest answer because I'm not here to judge. So that's what I'm asking. And then if there's nothing that it could be psychologically, that's okay. We want to then work through the symptoms. And so what I look at is right off the bat, food sensitivities, a lack of omega-3s to omega-6s. I look at a imbalance between magnesium and calcium in the diet. I make sure that there's enough electrolytes. So what I'm looking to do is work on the nervous system, as well as the muscles, the tone, inflammation, something that could cause looser stool as well. I mean, one more question I would ask is, okay, when the child has an accident in his underwear, is it loose? Like, is it more like diarrhea? And if it is, okay, then that tells me there's more of a gut-based issue. There's some type of either parasite, or there might be bacterial overgrowth that you alluded to earlier, or there's a food sensitivity. They may not be able to eat gluten or dairy or eggs or avocado for that matter. It could be anything. So what I'm recommending, of course, I would love to run the Big Five, even with a child plus a stool, or I'll give you my order of importance of how I would run them. And I would look at it for sure. I would look at it from a stool test, a hair tissue mineral analysis, then I would go organic acids test, then I would do food sensitivity, and then I would do omega-3, no need to do the hormone. That's how I would look at it, and that's what I would do in terms of testing. So hopefully that was helpful. Thank you for writing in. Allison's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I've learned so much from your podcast and through the Rain Barrel Effect book. I wanted to dive deeper on food combining, and what would you suggest to go well together as an example of what it would look like in a typical day? Looking forward to learning more. All right, well, I'm happy to give you more information on this. And what I'm going to do is actually link back for you to the previous podcast on food combining. And the reason is that we've already gone over this in depth. I've actually answered, is smoothies okay for food combining? And I provided a chart. So let's just go to stevencabral.com/podcasts and type in food combine or food combining. Either way is fine. And once we type that in, we should get a list of all the previous shows I've done on this. Okay, let's go back and let's see. Well, it goes way back. There are 2 pages on this, many of them house calls. Look for the actual shows. I did Foods That Heal on 441. That's not the exact one. I went over our Smoothies Okay with Food Combining on house calls. That's a good one to listen to. And again, you can go to stevencabral.com/podcast and just type it right in there. How to improve digestion and bloating with meals, 782. All right, let's see what else. Okay, so a bunch of shows, but it goes all the way back to episode 82. That was just about, what was that, about 90 days into the Cabral concept many years ago. All right, so there it is, and that chart is right there. It shows you how non-starchy vegetables do really well with certain carbohydrates and proteins, and they do pretty well with mild starchy ones. And then it tells you which fruits are good combiners, which ones are not, how a lot of proteins don't mix well with a lot of heavy fats, but how good fats like olive oil can mix and combine really well with things such as like a rice or potatoes, etc. So check that out and check the chart out right at episode 82, and you will have all that information, plus many other podcasts to listen to as well. Thank you, Allison. All right. This is the first time I don't think I could pronounce it at all. I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's Uju. Uju? Maybe it's Uju. That's my poor pronunciation, I'm sure. But the question is, hi, Dr. Cabral. I'm a huge fan of your podcast and grateful for your dedication to your work. I know you covered alopecia in previous house calls, but I don't think I've heard a podcast covering scarring forms of alopecia. Specifically, I'm a Nigerian woman in my mid-20s with a form of scarring alopecia called CCCA, which is centrifugal, I can't pronounce that word, and then alopecia. It progresses very slowly. I'm not sure how it happened, but it started about 8 years ago. Sharp piercing pain in my scalp. It's thought to be autoimmune, attacking my hair follicles. Been to many dermatologists, got a scalp biopsy. They haven't offered much help. I don't live in a country that Equilibrium Nutrition delivers products to. Regardless, I'm curious what kinds of functional medicine tests you'd recommend and what protocols you would recommend if testing can't be done. Thank you. So, usually, I'm just going to say that. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. I would love for you to connect with me on Instagram and in a comment. Just let me know the phonetic pronunciation of that. Yes, but I actually have done a show on scarring alopecia. Do keep in mind, alopecia, in my opinion, because this is how I've worked it in the past, is alopecia. Now, there are different forms. There's different ways that it goes after certain parts of the body. And then there is the scarring alopecia, which I don't know if we can say one form is worse than another. It's kind of like the hierarchy of diseases, but obviously it's not a great form to have. The way that I've been able to help people with this specific form is by absolutely, like without a doubt, always going after 2 things. 2 main things. Stress being the trigger, so that's one, but the gut being the root cause and the source. So I see a lot of candida overgrowth and a lot of bacterial overgrowth, sometimes SIBO. And that has been always, hands down, the number one thing that I go for. So I eradicate yeast because yeast a lot of time is much more of the issue than the bacteria. And yeast affects the scalp in general, whether it's dry skin and dandruff, etc. Yeast and candida overgrowth can be a big part of that. So I absolutely would run the organic acids test if you can find a practitioner near you, and I would definitely do a stool test. Food sensitivity test, sure, that would be great, but not as important as those first two. And then I would also think about doing a thyroid adrenal hormone test to see if you have higher levels of cortisol or stress, lower levels of thyroid, and then a hair tissue mineral analysis would be really nice to see if you have a 4 high for electrolytes. That would show you the trigger, like there is a lot of stress in this body. So I've seen it, again, I've worked with a lot of cases with alopecia. I've almost never seen it without a stressful triggering event, almost never. So if it was you, I would look back to 8 years ago or so, and just say, hey, what was going on 8.5 years ago that might have been a really stressful event? I see it all the time with relationships or breakups or arguments, fights with siblings or parents. I see it with the death of a loved one, a breakup, like I said, in relationships. All the time I see it with those things. Trouble with a sick child, I see it. And of course, then I always know, though, that there's usually a triggering event, and that would typically, not the triggering event, there would be a root cause, and that would be a gut-based issue. And that's what I would look more into. All right. So Rachel is up next. Rachel says, good evening. My name is Rachel. I'm not going to go through your middle and last name just for privacy. For a few years now, I've religiously used Dr. Cabral's Detox and put many friends and family members on it as well. I'm looking to ask Dr. Cabral a few questions about a natural vegan product composed of 5 herbs that has been proven to reduce oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days and up to 70% altogether. I've asked many physicians about this product in the medical field, but feel really good about Dr. Cabral's insight. Would be unmatched. Thank you, Rachel. And I wouldn't need much time at all. Would just like to send him an information video, get his opinion. Okay, so my team said that I'd be happy to answer this question, and I am happy to answer this question. All right, so, well, here's the deal. I know the product you're talking about. I'm not going to directly name it, but I'm going to tell everybody those 5 herbs, okay? And simply put, that I don't want to promote or knock it down. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. So here are the 5 herbs: milk thistle, bacopa, ashwagandha, green tea, and turmeric. Okay? Green tea, I want to be really specific here because it's not just green tea, it's the actual extract, which is the ECGC, okay? So it's important to distinguish that ECGC is the extract that usually we're talking about as a very powerful antioxidant. All right, so what I just named there were 5 herbs, all Ayurvedic in nature as well, which is important to think about when we're talking about the potency of these. And I want to go through why they work. So milk thistle works on helping with detoxification in the liver. Okay, it doesn't work the best with phase 1 and phase 2, but it does work, okay? Absolutely works. And we have it in our products as well. But it's a synergist. It works great, but you want it as a synergist. Bacopa, also an excellent Ayurvedic herb. Ashwagandha, good for calming the central nervous system, good for regulating as an adaptogen, cortisol or stress. Green tea, very powerful antioxidant. Believe it or not, also helps, though, with inflammation and detoxification. And turmeric being shown to have a nice, potent role as a natural anti-inflammatory, but believe it or not, works with blood sugar and works with detoxification. So these are all great herbs. I recommend all of them. They're all fantastic. I just don't want you to believe or feel that they take the place of all of the factors that the liver needs for phase 1 and phase 2 detox. So although I'm a huge proponent of these herbs and ingredients, and we're actually using them in more and more formulas that I'm creating, you can get them anywhere, so it's great. You can also use that product you were talking about, no doubt about it. But they do not replace all of your phase 1 and phase 2 detox components. And I believe it was episode 823. I refer to it so much. Let me just see. So StephenCabral.com. You can go to Forward Podcast or just go to 823. And I hope that this is what it is. Yep, the right way to complete a 7, 14, or 21-day detox, and it will talk about how to boost glutathione, which typically comes from sulfur-based amino acids. In phase 1, like all of those herbs are great, but they're not going to replace, they're just not going to replace the glycine and taurine and sulforaphane that you can use in your N-acetylcysteine, and they're not going to replace zinc and selenium and vitamin C. So remember, they don't ever have to replace anything for them to be great as well. Those are also great. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, Anonymous is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Sometimes the day after I drink alcohol, I feel my heart beating a little harder and faster. I particularly notice it when I'm sitting or lying. It can also be irregular, but not often. I know that my body is reacting to alcohol in some way, but I'd like to know what the reaction is and if it's something that I'd be concerned with. Thank you. Okay, so I could go back and I could research this more, but honestly, there's multiple reasons why this could be happening. I'm going to name a couple. The first one, first and foremost, is that when you drink alcohol, you are depleting yourself of electrolytes. Electrolytes are what create electricity in your body, and that electricity is what helps your heart to beat. Okay, so if there's an imbalance between sodium and potassium, your heart will not beat properly. If there's an imbalance between calcium and magnesium, your muscles, your heart being cardiac muscle, will not beat properly. There's also balances between calcium and sodium, magnesium, so they're all important. So keep in mind, you get dehydrated, but water alone will not rehydrate the body. And I've talked about this last week on how much water you should drink. You can drink too much water. A lot of people are drinking too much water right now, okay? But it's because they're not getting the minerals along with it. You need minerals, which is why berries and fruit and smoothies or electrolytes help add those minerals back in. It could be as simple as squeezing some lime and some sea salt in that water to hydrate your body. Okay, other reasons as well as your body is detoxifying, right? So if your body's detoxifying, it is under more stress. Your body is now trying to right itself and create homeostasis, okay? Another reason is inflammation, but this time specifically more from a histamine-based perspective. Let's say that you're someone that drank and you're more sensitive to histamines. Well, if you drink red wine, any alcohol, by the way, anything fermented is going to cause a histamine-based issue, okay? Some more than others. Red wine being a very high histamine-based one. Something like a light-colored spirit or something like tequila or other ones, a little lower, right? But here's the thing. The histamines absolutely will elevate heart rate with 100%. You eat a food that you're sensitive to, your heart rate will increase by like 10 beats per minute. So check that out, as well. And I would look at those three different reactions, and I'd be careful with not drinking too much. Obviously, no alcohol is good alcohol, but I'm not saying that you should never drink or can never drink. What I would say is just make sure, maybe between each glass of alcohol, that you are hydrating as well, and that there is maybe a pinch of sea salt and a bunch of lime in that as well, or lemon. You could use that too. All right, thank you. Let's get another question in. It's from Sarah. I just found out about nanohydroxyapatite. Hydroxyapatite. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Probably not, but we'll go with it. Everyone today, you can head on over to stevencabral.com/1310 for today's show notes. You can see all the questions and you can see everything that I'm mispronouncing right over there. All right, what is Dr. Cabral's view on it? This is what I could find out. It's a product used for remineralization. NASA discovered it in the early 70s and used it with astronauts' bones after an extended time in space. Japanese company bought the patent, been manufacturing it in toothpaste ever since. The best points, it has no known toxicity, can even be safely swallowed by children. It outperformed fluoride in studies. This is, again, I'm just reading Sarah's question. I'm not saying that this is true or not. I believe Sarah, but you'd have to do your own research. Only known issues with it is it can have a rare toxicity or allergy when taken as an internal supplement. This is rare but not associated with oral use. Haven't tried it yet. Just want to see if it's considered safe. My teeth are really okay. 100% natural toothpaste, unfortunately. I currently use the one with fluoride, but in a natural base, and would love to use something better. All right, Sarah, so I'll just give you my opinion on it. I do know what it is. I don't personally use it. If I did use it, I would use it orally only. So I would not swallow it, but I would use it orally. Now, I have looked into it previous to this, but I have not used it. What it looks like is that it helps build up the teeth, right? It helps remineralize the teeth. It seems to be safe, certainly safer than fluoride. And as it's naturally forming minerals, that can be a great thing, but sometimes I get worried if we formulated this in a lab or not. Personally, I use natural toothpaste. It will contain things like neem and coconut oil and all sorts of things that are great for cleaning and purifying the teeth. But the truth is that the best way to prevent cavities and keep your teeth healthy is to eat a lot of produce, a lot of veggies, berries and all that are great as well. There's where you're getting a lot of your alkalinity in your mouth, because remember, a lot of cavities are created by acidity in the mouth, which then creates more anaerobic-based bacteria, and it begins to break down the enamel on your teeth. Now, how do we get all that anaerobic bacteria in the mouth? Well, we get it from eating a lot of processed food. We get it from eating sugar, and we get it from eating pastries and cakes and snacks and soda. So the best way to really keep your teeth healthy is by the good quality food that you're eating. And then, of course, brush your teeth at least in the morning and at night with a good quality natural toothpaste. I'm not a proponent of fluoride. You can see my previous shows on that. If you use fluoride, just make sure you don't swallow it. That's for sure. Okay. Let's do one more question. It is a big one. All right, so everybody, you can follow in at StephenCabral.com/1310. And Jim is asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. My name is Jim. I discovered your clinic and podcast after watching your presentation at the Retrovirus Summit. I've been to a few functional medicine doctors over the last 6 years with no luck. Most of them have focused on a single diet. You are not doing that, which is refreshing. You really do help the individual and are not tied to one-size-fits-all model. Thank you for this. I would appreciate any feedback you could give me on my following timeline and symptoms. I formatted it, which makes it easy for you to follow through with all the information. Okay, I'm going to read this kind of slowly down, but I can't do consultations over the house calls. I just want everybody to know that. I want to do my best. I want to help you and help everyone so much, but I don't want to shortchange you. This is not a consultation. I'm not providing medical advice. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not curing anything like that. And again, we're answering questions, giving people the best place to get started, and giving you a qualified second opinion, what labs you might run, what protocols you might do. And also, I can research and look at products for you as well, like we did today. So, Jim, I just want you to know that, but we'd be happy to work with you either in the private practice, or I can give you a place to get started where you can work locally with a practitioner, or by running a lab through Equilibrium Nutrition as well. All right, so it says at age 11, you got food poisoning. You developed acne and blackheads after age 13, did Accutane, really bad side effects, and had rosacea. At 27, testicular cancer, surgery to remove cancer. After remission, had wisdom teeth out. 3 months afterwards, my acne returned. Organic acid test in 2013 shows high bacteria, deficiencies in good bacteria, and minerals. I've done multiple food sensitivity tests. Recently did a SIBO, came back negative. Upper endoscopy, showed gastritis, 5'10", 125. All right, let's see. You had a practitioner put you on a low-carb diet. Not a great idea, but we'll save that for another time. You have acne, eczema, seborrheic dermatitis, rosacea, tinnitus. Okay, well, here's the thing. I know for sure that we can help you, but we need to go back to that gut. A lot of people have done gut-based protocols, but it's not truly the thing. It truly hasn't helped them, and I know that we could help you, and I did a free podcast on exactly what we do on episode 1299. So head on over to StephenCabral.com/1299. How to finally heal your digestion. It gives you all the specifics. If you ran a Big 5 with us, plus a stool test, or if you wanted to take out the food sensitivity test, replace it with the stool. You could do those 4 labs, plus a stool test. For sure, we'd be able to get to the bottom of this. Again, there are no guarantees in life, but this seems to me, you had multiple surgeries where most likely you took antibiotics. It imbalanced your gut. Now you're not absorbing your food well enough. So you are not absorbing your minerals and your vitamins and breaking down your proteins. That's putrefying in the gut. It's leading to you be more catabolic, which is why you're probably 25, 30, 40 pounds underweight from a good, healthy, weight. I'm not talking about a bodybuilder or anything like that, but just a good, healthy weight on your body, which means most likely your immune system isn't as strong right now. The body most likely has a lot of intestinal permeability, so your liver's overwhelmed. Probably your kidneys are overwhelmed from proteins and other foods spilling through that gut wall. So my job is to take it at a root level, a foundational level, help you rebuild that digestive system. Make sure if your body's not balanced in terms of minerals and vitamins, we replace those as well. If there is toxicity, well, we might not do a detox out of the gates. We might actually help you rebuild, refortify, and then do the detox a little bit later. But everything is customized, when we work individually. or you work with an individual practitioner. So, Jim, that's what I recommend. Remember, there is for sure help for you, just like there's help for everyone. Again, I would go back and listen to episode 1299. That's what's going to give you exactly how to heal that gut. So maybe you never run a lab test with us. That's okay. We're here to help either way, and that is the entire protocol that we do. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral Concept. As always, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to pass along to anyone else you believe it could serve. And tomorrow, we'll be back with more questions on the Cabral HouseCalls. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.